Are you trying to write a book? Well, guess what? It's not easy. We are here today to help you write a book. I am Elizabeth Ann Atkins of Two Sisters Writing and Publishing, and with us is one of our best-selling authors, Joanie Lindenmeyer. Welcome, Joanie.
Hi there, Elizabeth. Happy day to you.
Yes, it's a beautiful, beautiful, happy day full of creative potential. So we're here this morning or today, this afternoon, wherever you are, whatever time it is, we're here to help you learn how to write a book. Joanie is one of our star authors here at Two Sisters Writing and Publishing. And I coached her to write Nun Better, the best-selling love story. It's called An Amazing Love Story by Joanie Lindenmeyer with Carol Tierheimer. Amazing LGBTQ love story. It will make you laugh, cry, available in hardcover, paperback, and ebook, wherever books are sold online, including Amazon. And I coached Joanie to share her amazing story. And she wrote her book in 6 months in my program. And then I edited it and then we published it. And it's changing lives. And we want that for you. So Joanie and I are collaborating now on writing 2 books together, and we want to share the experience with all of you who are striving to write a book. And Joanie, who'd never done it before but wrote a bestseller with help, is here to share what that was like. So Joanie, first, can we start by you telling people what it's like to actually get the idea and write the book?
Oh, absolutely. I think the idea just sort of flows out of your heart. It's like a combination of heart and brain, and you just let it rip. You're not sure of how it turns out or whatever at the very beginning, but you just keep going. You're just trying to put it onto your documents or on your pen and paper or in a voice script or whatever, but you just go for it because you know inside of yourself that it's going to be something really cool for somebody else because it's been cool for you. And so it's
Yes.
a win-win, and there's no failure involved. It's all good. You cannot fail at this because it's your book. You can make it whatever you want it to be. And I
Yeah.
think that's the coolest thing. And if you write something you don't like it, scratch it off, or delete it, but you have it. And I think the coolest thing for me was like, well, where do I start? Where do I begin? And as Elizabeth coached me, you talked to me about saying, well, what stories do you tell most people? And that also became my outline. Would you believe that? And it's like, oh, this is like a theme. This is a cool story. This could go in here. And that's how the whole outline started to happen.
I love that, Joanie. So everybody, you can see what a fireball of energy Joanie is. And that's how her writing came across. It's like whoosh, explosion on the page. It's a delight to read. So if you can pick up Nun Better, it's an amazing love story. And it's just so inspiring because she's living her free, happy life. And she did so for 40 years with her partner, Carol, who's no longer with us. Carol is in heaven watching all this wonderful
Yep.
stuff happen. Thank you,
She's here
Carol.
in other ways. Yep, yep,
Yes,
yep.
yes,
She's still
yes.
here. She's still giving me guidance, let me tell you.
Yes, yes. Guidance is the best word. So my guidance in this experience is that I've written more than 40 books here at Two Sisters Writing and Publishing. We've published more than 40 books in 7 years. And this is my memoir, God's Answer is No, KNOW, Lessons from a Spiritual Life. It's spiritual, not religious. So in writing nonfiction memoir, how to, because this teaches you how to meditate and journal and all the things that are so important to my process. We are teaming up and I bring my expertise. Joanie brings her ideas and life experience and together collaboration. So today we're talking about how to outline a book.
Oh, woohoo.
Yes. So back in English class, nobody loved it, but outlines were taught and outlines are really important. It's just like when you leave the house, you've got GPS on your phone. You're not going to go to a new destination with no directions. You want to know turn by turn, time, everything. So when you have an outline, it's your GPS for your book. Here you're starting, there you're ending. How do you get there? Can't figure it out by yourself usually. Sometimes people will sit down and write a blockbuster, but chances are you need some help. So Joanie and I are going to talk about outlining. Joanie, can you talk about the whole concept of outlining and how it helped you write Nun Better?
Yes. Well, and first off, Elizabeth, I know you kept using the word outline when you coached me, but in my brain, I couldn't get into that word. I had to use the word game plan because I come from a sports person. So it
Uh-huh.
was my game plan. So just
Uh-huh.
like you're going to teach somebody to shoot a free throw or to run down the court and then shoot I mean, it's the same steps, but it was that game plan. And
Uh-huh.
that game plan started for me thinking about what are the coolest things that have happened in my life that I wanted to write about and
Uh-huh.
share.
Uh-huh.
And this is where it was like a heartfelt truth. I guess that's the way to say it. And I
Uh-huh.
think that everybody has that heartfelt truth inside of them, whether they're making up a story or they're doing a
Mm-hmm.
memoir. But having that heartfelt truth and being in touch with that in your
Mm-hmm.
game plan and
Mm-hmm.
in your outline sets you on the right foot.
Yes, yes. I love
Okay, now
that.
you asked me a specific question. What was the specific question you asked?
Well, having that outline or game plan, as you call it, how did that boost your confidence? Because you'd never written a book before and you
Right,
rocked it.
right. Yeah, I did, didn't I? Woohoo! Anyhow, how did well, that was I knew what I was doing. So every time I went to the computer, I knew that, okay, this is what I'm going to be talking, writing about, describing. And so
Mhm.
I followed that game plan because I knew that that was going to get me, like you just said, to the end result. I
Mhm.
didn't
Mhm.
know how it was going to actually fit with all the different pieces or the different chapters, how to integrate. And that's where you came in with the editing, especially. But
Uh-huh.
in terms of the actual writing of it, I followed that game plan. I followed that outline. So I didn't get off on some chicken trail walk about something else. It kept me focused. It kept me in the most important thing. And as I've shared before with John Wooden, WIN, what's important now, that's what it kept me focused and on target. It kept me on target.
Wow, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that so beautifully.
Yeah.
So, Joanie, here's a really huge tip for all of you aspiring authors out there. I always say, as a book coach, and I've coached many people to write bestsellers, including Joanie, in my 6 months to book success program, begin with a bang. Your book is
Yeah. Oh,
flat
yeah.
words on a page. You're competing with a multimedia extravaganza of videos and audiobooks and every all the things on our phone that just mesmerize us, right? Social media. Your book has to make those words jump up and dance from the very first word, sentence, paragraph, image. So you have to begin with a bang. And so Joanie wrote her book, but we rearranged a few things to begin with a bang, which was this beautiful scene
Yeah.
of falling in love with Carol while you were both Catholic nuns and it was totally forbidden. Vow of celibacy, um, gay marriage was not a thing back then. Lots of taboos.
Right.
And we wrote this beautiful love scene at the beginning, and that the reader is like, oh my gosh, how did they do this? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful that you helped me with that because I didn't know what that meant when you said start with a bang. But
Uh-huh.
it's like this is the most incredible thing that's going to encourage the reader to say, I want to learn more about this. What's going to
Yeah.
happen? What's going to happen next? It's
Uh-huh.
like, oh my
Uh-huh.
gosh.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So a
Thank
lot
you
of
so much for helping me determine that.
You're welcome, Joanie. You had written it and it was in there,
Yeah.
but we just had to move it up front. So a lot of people, if especially if they're writing their memoir or something, they're like, oh, I just need to give you some background and lead up. The reader doesn't want to read some background and lead up. They want to be grab them by the collar and keep them on the edge of their seat for the whole book. So
Mm-hmm.
it's your job as the writer. So if you're telling your life story, you need to start with a scene that's really going to capture the reader from the beginning. And that scene could be like we did with Joanie, a beautiful love romantic scene connection, but in an environment where this is so not allowed and against the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that your begin with a bang scene could be something horrible that happened in your life that you've recovered from, and that's the message, like, I made it through. What doesn't
Oh.
kill
Oh.
you makes you stronger. It can also be something beautiful, like saying I do, take us to a wedding scene. Everybody loves that. It can be like a really dramatic moment, like giving birth to a baby in a car on the side of the highway, or
Woo!
it could be losing 100 pounds and looking down on the scale and saying, I did it. And then the reader's going to be like, well, how'd you do it? So then you take them back through that. So if you're writing your memoir, your life story, think about the most dramatic moment, which typically is a turning point in your life that enables you to rise
Oh,
up and out, right? So that first romantic scene with you and Carol was a turning
right.
point because you had
Oh, it sure was.
uh-huh.
The
So
beginning of the 40 years. Yes.
yeah, see? So it takes the reader and also you just feel it, the excitement of it. And Joanie, tell me what
Mhm.
that felt like to showcase that scene to the readers.
Oh, I was pumped. I was pumped. It was like, yes, this is what it's all about. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, the love juices were flowing. It was so easy for me to describe the quilt on the bed. It was so easy to talk about how she rubbed my shoulder and I just sort of melted into her top of her heart and her chest. And it was like, oh my gosh, I could feel when I wrote it, Elizabeth. I could feel like I was right there in that exact moment. It all just
Mhm.
came alive. Oh, yes, I could feel every
Wow.
single thing. And of course, the tears flowed. You know
Uh,
me, I'm such a crier. So when
uh-huh.
I feel things, it's like the emotions just come out. The big smiles happen and the tears flows or the eyes water. You bet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
So guess what, everybody? Listen to what Joanie just said. She could feel it like she was there. And when you write from that place, the reader is going to feel like they're there. That is the magic. That is where you want to get into your genius zone. It's about remembering and also using your imagination to describe everything in great detail. You want your reader to see, hear, touch, taste, smell, and feel the vibe of the experience. So that was
Exactly. So in that scene, I can so remember, my shoulder was in pain and Carol was rubbing it and I could actually feel her hands rubbing that shoulder. I mean, the actual feeling of it, and
yeah,
what it did to my internal love juices going on at the same time,
I love
but
it.
yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, totally feeling it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love that, Joni. So that's the begin with a bang, right? And then we have the outline.
Yes.
And the outline is where you need to tell how you got to this bang moment or how you recovered from this bang moment. And so chapter 1 is to begin with a bang, like, look at this. And then chapter 2, you can have many options, but basically you can just completely rewind and start telling your life story. Let me just share also, if you're writing a business book or a novel, but a business book, for example, you want to share how you became who you are to share this expertise. So you want to begin with a bang in your business to show, I opened this clinic and now I'm saving lives. And it was healing my own issue that enabled me to discover an herbal remedy, just for example. And now that's what my clinic specializes in, and I'm helping people. So you would show in the begin with a bang how you're helping people and the magic miracles you're working for their health. And then you'd go back and say, well, this started in my own health struggles. So you'd take the reader way back to show the trajectory of how you rose up
Oh,
from that. Yeah. So chapter 2 can just be rewind, because what we did in Joni's book was to go back and show, well, who's Joanie, where was she born, who's her family, what was her schooling, what was her evolution as an LGBTQ person, when did she come out, what was that like, and then the same for Carol.
and
So
when we became nuns and that whole thing too. Yeah, yeah,
mhm,
yeah.
mhm. So we went back because the reader, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. The reader wants to know, how did you get here?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
You
that's
are
really
so wise. I forget all of that. I remember doing it and writing stuff, and that was the puzzle pieces I was talking about a few minutes ago, that you helped me put those puzzle pieces in the sequence. I guess that would be it. The sequence that gets the reader involved in it as if they are in my life. Does that
Uh-huh.
make sense? Yeah.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, you are so wise, Elizabeth. You are so wise. No wonder you're a great coach. Woo-hoo.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. You're the
Couldn't have
best.
done it without you. It reminds me of I was reading scripture today, and it's about the yoke, and Jesus is like the yoke and carries your burdens. And I was thinking, yeah, is a yoke used for two animals, and it's about sharing. So Jesus is always sharing with your life, and here you are as a coach, you're sharing with the author, of how to make it happen. So it's actually a triple yoke today. Jesus, Elizabeth, and the writer. Yeah, we'll go that way.
I'll take that. That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's beautiful.
yeah.
So,
Hmm.
wow, Joni. So you can, in the outline, chapter 1, begin with a bang. Chapter 2, go back. You don't have to do this, but the reader wants to know the history. And you've already captured their attention. You hooked them in. And then the rest of the chapters can be out, just explanations of the rest of the story and how you got back to that begin with a bang moment. And in a business book, you really want to have an outline because you need to clearly state all the things you're going to teach the person. If it's about how to run a great business, you're going to have to talk about all the components: marketing, business plan, staff, employment, HR, all the things, finance. If it's your memoir, you need to pick some themes that are like a thread that goes through every scene. So in my memoir, I picked themes. My themes were my relationship with God and spirit. My themes were finding myself in the context of identity with race, because I'm a multiracial woman. My themes were about conquering my inner demons of food and fat, because I struggled for a long time with food and fat and eating disorder, mindset, body, horrible. And I've healed from that. So I'm showing. So I had these themes. There was one other: writing, my passion for writing. And so those themes are woven through every scene. And I taught Joanie how to do the same. And her themes were about finding herself, her relationship with God, with Carol, with the world, in a world at a time when, in the early 80s, when the HIV/AIDS crisis was raging and there was a lot of hostility and violence toward the LGBTQ community because they were blamed for the HIV/AIDS crisis. And it was, very difficult to come out and live openly. So themes throughout all your chapters are really important because that creates a consistency and a rhythm. So, Joanie, let's talk about the rhythm of the writing in the outline. At the end of every chapter, you ended it with some.
Jesus hold you. God bless you.
Yes, yes. So Joanie's book appeals to everybody, whether you are Christian or not. It's just a love story that you can completely appreciate in a non-denominational fashion. And for Joanie, Jesus is a huge part of her life, mine as well, in a non-denominational. The
My best
Jesus,
friend.
yes, yes, yes. So, but she ended every chapter with that little prayer or like prayer for the reader. And it was a beautiful rhythm that was created. So be cognizant when you're writing your book, how to end each chapter and also how to format each chapter. Oftentimes, if it's an instructional book, you'll want to have maybe a story exemplifying the topic and then have some how-to tips. If it's a love story, you're going to just showcase the theme of the chapter. So if Joanie, you want to talk about how we picked some themes for each chapter?
Yes. Well, it actually came from the stories that we had. And so, like prayer or discernment were themes. And then we also did it by location. So whether it was in Aberdeen or if it was in Brookings or the places that we lived, then that had a theme that molded into another theme, like the Easter picnic, the first LGBTQ celebration in Brookings was at
Mhm.
an Easter picnic. And so
Mhm.
these stories fit right in with the themes, or the themes fit in with the stories. They just gelled. They just
Mhm.
gelled. And I remember on my game plan paper, we didn't have titles named. We didn't have chapter titles at that time because we were
Mhm.
still just doing the themes and the stories. But on my game plan paper, I had a circle, and inside was just Joanie and Carol's book. Pretty simple, because I didn't even have a title for a book yet. And
Uh-huh.
then it was like spokes or spider webs that went off, and those were the themes and the stories. And so then I got my highlighters out and colored, orange was a theme and green was a story, so that I could make sure that the story was connected to the theme. Again, it gelled and had that, what was the word you just used a few minutes ago? The continuity, or I forget what you said. And then I lucked out with the Jesus Hold You, God Bless You thing, because that was just something that Carol and I did every night when we said goodnight to each other and kissed each other goodnight. That was
Mhm.
just how we did it. And I thought, well, I want to do that at the end of every chapter. It's almost like giving a hug or a kiss to the person that's reading it. And that sounds
Oh.
weird, but that was my intent, to share our heartfelt love at the end of that chapter. And so that's how
Mhm.
it came to be. And I guess it was perfecto mundo in terms of you as a coach and a famous author who knows how to do this. And so it just worked out. And I think that
Oh,
happened a lot during the book that I wrote,
yes.
it just happened, and you were able to say, oh yes, this is great, or let's do this. And I
Uh-huh.
I just tried to listen to you all the time, Elizabeth, because you have such wisdom, and you know what the reader wants to read.
Thank you, Joni. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So it's partly the experience that I have here at Two Sisters Writing and Publishing of doing 40 plus books, memoirs, novels, business books, poetry, but it's also my instincts as a writer. That's my genius zone. That's
Yeah.
my gift. And I'm able to, just like my sister Catherine, we had a collaboration meeting the other day with Catherine, and Catherine just came fresh into the outlining process
Yes.
that Joni and I were doing. And she's like, well, you're missing a chapter on XYZ. And Joni and I
Yeah.
had not even thought about it. So it's an instinctive thing as a creative, as a publisher, as a writer, as an author. And sharing it with all of you is my mission, because I have all this energy, all this expertise, and I love sharing it with you and people like Joni who take it and run with it and write a blockbuster bestseller.
Woohoo!
So, Joni, is there anything else you'd like to share with people watching right now who are trying to write a book and need to know more about outlining?
Don't worry if you mess it up. Like
Okay.
I said in the very beginning, don't worry if you mess it up, because it's your book and it's your stuff. And whether it takes you a week or a month or whatever to do, don't worry about the
Uh-huh.
timeline.
Uh-huh.
Get rid of those worries. Just enjoy the process and let it happen. Be open to having a coach. That's
Hmm.
the big thing. You want to
Uh-huh.
share this with somebody. I think I cannot even imagine doing it by yourself. I think you really need to have a coach or a confidant, or whoever you want to call that person.
Uh-huh.
But that is so important.
Thank you, Joni, said the retired physical education teacher.
Yep, yep.
Love that. Love that. So, everybody, if you are interested in working with me as a coach, please go to twosisterswriting.com and learn more about us there. Or you can just comment here on YouTube and drop me a comment. I'd love to get in touch with you to help you write a book, because it's like being a guide on your literary journey.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a guide, you don't get lost. You don't waste
Exactly.
time. You
Or
don't.
if you do get lost, you find your way back home faster.
Yes, 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 yes. So it's my honor and pleasure to help people like you, Joni, and others, all of you watching, to help you write an amazing book. We actually have had all our last three books have been bestsellers. Die Standing by Elmer Dixon, a former Black Panther Party leader in Seattle. #1 new release on Amazon in his category. And then Joni's book, of course, and hers is in the LGBTQ families category. And then Diary of a Schizophrenic by Bethany Boyk in the schizophrenia category. Phenomenal story by a young woman with schizophrenia. So check out our books because we know what we're doing here and it can help
Right.
you write your own bestseller.
And that reminds me, Elizabeth, the reason that we're doing these podcasts is because we're writing 2 more books that will be ready by next June. And
Mhm.
whether we call them sequels or how did it all happen and adding a whole bunch of other wonderful stuff to these books, we are
Mhm.
literally in the process of creating our outline. And that is just the funnest part right now is creating
Uh-huh.
that outline. Because then from there, I know your creative juices and my creative juices and maybe some other people that we're going to add in that process will be really,
Yes,
really, really cool. So this is
absolutely.
all applicable to what we're doing. It's not we're
Uh-huh.
just talking about it, people. We are in the middle of doing what we're saying, what we're talking about. We're doing the outline.
Yes, we are. And to help you do the same and write your bestseller and be a positive, powerful influence on people everywhere. So, Joanie Lindenmeyer, author of None Better, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me today again for another amazing video where we can teach people how to write a book together because collaboration is so powerful. I always say teamwork makes the dream work. So, thank you,
Yes.
Joanie. Anything
Yes.
else?
And I've been practicing something, so I have to share it. I'm Joanie Lindenmeyer, best-selling author of the best-selling book, None Better, An Amazing Love Story. Yahoo!
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Your energy is just the best. So beautiful.
Well, likewise, likewise. Yep,
Thanks, Joni. Thank you.
yep.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you. You're welcome. It's my honor. And thank you all of you for joining us on yet another video about how to collaborate to write a book. So if you know anybody who's trying to write a book, please share this video with them. Drop us a comment if you have any questions, because we can do a future show on whatever's the most vexing issue for you. What are you struggling with? We want to know so we can help you. So please leave a comment about, please do a show about XYZ topic. Okay, writer's block, for example, or how do you publish your book once you write it? What do you need to know? We're going to tell you. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins of Two Sisters Writing and Publishing, here with Joanie Lindenmeyer, author of the best-selling None Better, An Amazing Love Story. And we wish you the best. We wish you happy writing. And please visit twosisterswriting.com. We'll see you next week for another interview with Elizabeth and Joanie talking about how to collaborate to write a book. Happy writing.
Yes. Happy writing. Love you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Elizabeth.
You're welcome. You're awesome.